Here we go. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're jumping back into getting that thing in there. So if you haven't watched the other episodes, this is an automatic Odyssey and we are converting it to manual. So a little bit of mucking around, but hopefully by the end of last episode we got the engine all sorted, pretty much ready to go in. And today we're going to chuck it in and see how far we get. Let's go. So here is the nice clean engine bay, which has been cleaned up over the last couple of episodes, and we're looking pretty good. So the rear mount bolts on there, engine mount here, and this one here. That one we're going to have to make. So if you watched the last episode, the auto transmission mount does not bolt onto the manual. So the manual normally has these two bolt holes and then it bolts onto the side of the thing here, but also it has these mounts here. So this one's broken and this one's broken. They look similar to this, but the person who sold me this one is an idiot and I bought it online and they don't want it back, so maybe this guy's the idiot. But what we're going to use is, I think I might be able to use this. The second one of these doesn't quite work in the car. I'll show you what I mean. So this one here bolts over here in an Odyssey, in an Accord, just like that. Then the other one works there, but I don't know how the back is meant to work because I only have one bolt hole and I'm not sure that big one is actually for a bolt. So what my plan is I'm going to get it in, hopefully use this engine mount and the other two, and it should sit there pretty nicely, and then we can slide this one in and see if we can get it to work. So we'll find out. I'll have to modify this and make a little bit of a mount for, like, cut these pieces off, try and keep it as cold as possible while I weld it and hopefully not detach the rubber, but we'll have to give it a go. So plan for this episode, engine in the engine bay, and hopefully mounted it all up and we should be pretty good. So let's jump into it. Let's get this engine off the ground and slot it in the hole. What a fight. Okay, so a few little bits and pieces I stuffed up was just the way I had it hanging, but it's in. So I've done a few little bits and pieces. As you saw, the car gave birth to a human before on the ground over there. I had to jump in and out a few times to get the mount at the back in. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I just didn't have the car high enough. If I had it maybe 50 mil higher, it would have been perfect. The way I had it positioned, I didn't want to have the engine hanging too long, so I wanted to get it down, and I should have just taken 30 seconds, jacked the car up a little bit, and we would have been good. But we got it, and it's looking good. So I got engine mount down here in, the driver's side engine mount, and that one down the back there. You can't quite see it, but it's in. So I've also positioned what is normally the auto transmission mount, and it's got 3 bolts in it, one up there, 2 down the bottom, and it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to use those 2 bolts there, and then maybe that one down the back that holds that little bit, which is pretty much like a mounting thing, I think. So I'll use those 2, and I'll probably use this one as well, because this one's just a goes nowhere hole, and it's got the mount on it. I've already taken it out to check if it actually goes into anything, and it doesn't. So hopefully I can use those 3 and then up onto the body, and we should be pretty good. Okay, engine in, mount time. I've got on it, and I'll show you what I'm up to. So I took some measurements, bought some steel, and I've come up with this. So a little bit overkill. It's all 6 mil, sorry. I wanted 4 or 5, but they only had 6, so that's what I went with. A little bit overkill, but I'm happy. It's nice and solid. So I've made a big flat plate down the bottom. I still have a few corners to cut off. I want to round this one off, take a little bit of this off as well because it's not needed. But then I also made these. So just 2 plates. I made the black one as well. The back one's a little bit different. It doesn't have as much scallop on here. And it all lines up nice. Whoop, calm down. Sorry, almost dropped the level. So it's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I do need to take a little bit more out of here because it still hits the mount. It's got a little gusset on it here. I don't really want to touch it, but if I have to, I'll just give it a little bit of a zing with the grinder and we should be good. But yeah, really nice, really happy with that. I actually lucked out. I actually did it properly, and those holes are actually just those holes. There's not big washers needed under them. But also what I have done is I got the engine level as well as the car just to see if it's looking properly. Man, looking good. I think I have it pretty good. The front engine mount down the bottom here, I have just checked. It kind of like, if you put it too far either way, it leans one way or it leans the other and it pushes the bush. So I have it pretty smack bang in the middle. I'll show you in a second. And then what I also did is I leveled the rocker cover. So if you take the cap off and the dipstick, it kind of lines up pretty level and goes like that. And if you hold it in the right spot, that I can't do now, the bubble lines up with this, which is pretty level as well. So that there, I'll see if I can do it this way. So without it out of the way, you go a little bit diagonal, and the bubble pretty much exactly the same as that. The floor light might be a little bit out, but the bubble is exactly the same. It's a little bit this way. The gap on this side is a little bit bigger, but I think it's pretty good. So I also made a little piece for down the bottom. So that bit is going to go underneath. There's that little bolt hole that I talked about before, which had, I can't find it. It has one of those little hooks on it, which we use to jack the engine up. It's just got a little thing. So I made that piece, and then once I have that welded and it pretty good and happy, I'll weld that in, and then I'll tack this piece in just to make sure I can get it out. I think I will, but having the third bolt will just give me a little bit of peace of mind driving down the road. So I'm going to finish up a little bit of steel fab on this, grind that little scallop a little bit more, tack it together, pull it out, and we'll tick it together, and we'll see how it goes. I think we're ready. I've trimmed up a few little bits and pieces around the edges, rounded the plate near the bolts, and got it all pretty good. I've taken the scale off the steel so we can get a nice good weld on there. I'm going to tack it with the MIG, and then I'll pull it out and I'll TIG it up. So I have tilted the engine just a tad up so that when the weight is dropped from this mount, it should sit level. That's my plan. It's pretty bang on with this support and the top of the rocker cover. I think that's the best way to do it. And then looking from this angle, it looks pretty square. So I have a little bit square, but it is a little bit up this end at the moment, just because I want it to settle on that mount. I feel like it's settling on the 3 mounts at the moment, and then if I have it completely level and then take the jack out, it'll slant this way. So I've just gone up a tad on this end, and hopefully that'll work. I've tightened those bolts, that bolt up, not super tight, just firm. And then now I'm going to jump in there, tack it, then I'll chuck it up on the bench, and we'll weld it up. There you go, here we go. All nice and tacked together. I put a couple on that side, a couple in the middle, and then there, and then the bottom. I'll probably end up not using this edge. I'll probably just cut it off. I don't really see it, but we'll see what happens. Maybe if I want to get fancy, I'll cut it off and clean it up. And then, yeah, the one on the bottom. And so now I'm going to TIG out, set you up, and we'll weld all this together. Hopefully I don't burn myself. here we go, all done, welded up. A little bit unhappy with a few welds. I had a bit of porosity in this one, which is the first one I showed on the little camera, on the time lapse, and it annoyed me a little bit. I got it to the end, it was all pretty good, and then I've undercut a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's all welded up, inside and out, gusseted here, welded on the bottom too. So now, time for a quick paint, and we'll chuck it in the car. Okay. Looking pretty good. It's in. I did have to try and open these up a little bit. Both the ears closed in a little bit, which then meant I had to repaint it. After it was looking pretty, I had to hammer on it. So, painted twice, all bolted in. The bolt underneath is all tightened up. That's tightened up. So, time to drop this jack and see how she sits. Ooh, baby. Oh, that's so good. Should not get on anywhere. And by the look of it, it's nice and level, which I'm really happy about. So now I'm going to jump underneath, put the axles in, put the intermediate shaft, both axles on, slide them into the hubs, put all the hubs together, and then we'll see what we have to do next. That's gonna do, guys. I'm really happy with how everything's coming along. Got that mount made. I ended up getting those drive shafts in. One thing is with the drive shafts, you need to get a manual intermediate shaft. The auto one doesn't work. It's like where it bolts onto the block is like 10, 15, 20 mil, something like that. Too big, and the shaft doesn't fit. So you need to get a manual one in case you want to do this swap. Next up, we're gonna hopefully finish that clutch. We're going to work out the wipers, we've got heaps of wiring to do, heaps more coming up. So please stay tuned, please like and subscribe, and hit us up with any questions or something you think I might need to know. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, guys.